In the left corner, we have the Xbox Elite controller, weighing in at 348 grams. And in the right corner, we have the Steam controller, weighing it at, I have no idea. Which one is better? Yeah, so unfortunately I'm not going to make a fancy video because I want to get this out as quickly as possible because I know you're desperate to find out the information. So this is just going to be filmed on my phone. And I'm going to cover everything you want to know, and what more do you really want, basically. The Xbox 360 controller, the Xbox Elite controller is brand new. It costs £110. It came out literally today, which is the 27th of October. I think I might have it before everyone else, actually. The Steam controller came out a week before, or possibly 2 weeks before, and it's basically very different. It's at £40 currently, and you can't get it until the 10th of November because I got it on pre-release or pre-order or whatever it's called. Yeah, so which one is better? We're going to be comparing various categories: the look, the feel, the customizability, the features, and the accuracy. So let's see who wins on each. So when it comes to the look, I think the Xbox 360, the Xbox Elite controller definitely takes the cake. It's definitely more of a sort of a Porsche design. It's shiny. It's got metallic bits. It's got a light here that glows very brightly, and it just generally, it's got, you know, a mesh. It's got a kind of a pattern. If you're holding this in your hand and the ladies are walking by, they're going to take a second look. I can guarantee that. This, on the other hand, well, it doesn't look very good. The colours there, they're getting a bit old in my opinion. It kind of makes it look like a Bandai toy almost. It's that kind of plastic that, you know, as you can see, it gets stained quite easily. It's got like my fingerprints on it and stuff, and it's, you know, but you know, you're paying less for it, so that's fair enough. It's all black. It's all black plastic. Yeah, it looks cheaper. So the Xbox Elite controller definitely wins on that, and I give that a 9 out of 10. Whereas I give this more of a 6 out of 10, to be honest, but you know, that's just me. Comes to feel, again, the Xbox Elite controller takes the cake by a long margin. It's very, very smooth over here. This is like, there's no resistance at all. It's weightier. It doesn't feel hollow at all. It's got this kind of, this sort of, how do you explain it? There's probably a special name for it. This kind of very smooth, rubbery type plastic that almost feels like skin. It's got the diamond grip design. I don't know what that is. That is basically easier to grip. It's more ergonomic in my opinion. Everything sort of fits nicely. Those two line up right with your finger, especially your other. It works like that. You know, everything lines up. It's got some metal bits which are nice and cool to touch, and they can be customized. And yeah, it feels generally a lot nicer. The Steam controller feels nice. It's not bad by any means, but again, the cheap plastic doesn't feel very nice. It's just kind of just slightly rough, so you don't slip. This feels very nice. I have to say, this feels very, very nice. But other than that, you know, this is fine. There's no analog stick over there. And it just, I don't know. It just feels like, it feels sort of hollow again, a bit like a Bandai toy. But then again, it's, again, less than half the price. So I'm not really complaining. It's not bad by any means. It does the job. And for 40 quid, you're getting, I think, your money's worth, right? And you wouldn't really want any more unless you're going for excellence. Customizability. Unfortunately, in this case, the Steam controller beats the Xbox Elite controller by a long margin. Long margin. This is the Xbox Elite customizability page. Basically, all you can do is swap. So that can become that, and that become that. But you can't make that S, you can't make that Q, you can't make that something random, you can't make it a macro. You've got literally nothing you can do. As for the graphing of the axes of these, you basically are limited to these 4 options. One basically is a slow start, takes a while before the power kicks in terms of the tilt. One, the power kicks in quite early, and one, the power kicks in instantly. Or you can just have the default. You cannot manipulate these as at the time of writing. I'm sure this is going to be updated, to be honest. It almost seems like this is what they got out in time for the release, and they're going to be working on it. You cannot customize these at all. So they literally do not get detected by the computer in their own way. They only get detected by being remapped to one of the other buttons. So I guess that customizability comes in handy for first-person shooters or other things where you don't want to let go of these and you still want to be able to jump and reload. And they're basically just being assigned to these, but there's nothing extra coming from those apart from that extra ability. So when it comes to customizability for the Steam controller, you've got infinitely more options. This is the interface. You have a different configuration for every single game. So currently I'm in BioShock Infinite. You can do that with any other game. And you can have a million different ones, even for specific games. You can go into this amazing interface where you can set this, you can set that, you can set that to literally anything you want. You've got some presets. Over here, which, you know, it comes with recommended, it comes with templates, which are the 3 basic versions. You'll see those. You've got the community ones, and that's very good because you can rely on what people do. You can also use that for spreading your own name and fame. And then you have your own personal ones that you can save. When it comes to customizing things, the options are limitless. You can change the style of the input, whether it requires a click or not. For this, every single one has its own options. You can turn up the haptic stuff, which we'll get onto later. We've even got advanced settings, dead zones, tilts, accelerations, anything. It's like you can't possibly want more out of customizing. I'm not going to go into everything because there's videos on that, but basically you can turn this into whatever you want, including that. That has a million different variations of what it does, including a spinning ball. You just flick it like that and it goes brrrr, and it's got some haptic feedback to indicate that it's still spinning and it slows down. And the camera is turning while that's still spinning. So when it comes to customizability, this gets 10 out of 10. Literally could not want more. This gets a mere 4 out of 10. It's barely functional. It can basically be used by enthusiasts who want to change these on the fly. I can't really imagine the scenario, but I'm sure there's people that can, so I'm not going to exclude them. 4 out of 4. It's functional. 4 out of 10, I mean, it's functional. When it comes to features, they both kind of break even. The Xbox Elite controller basically has several features. Let's go through some of them. For example, you have the extra buttons. You can swap these. With these, you can have, customize that. You can swap that. It's magnetic. It's very nice. It feels great. It just kind of slips in and it stays there by itself. You can remove these additional paddles and you can use them as well. As I say, it's not so great, but it's feels nice. You can do this toggle fire system where basically if you flip that switch, this stops being a smooth movement and it just becomes a clicky. I'll show you. So that can be useful if you want to, say, switch to semi-automatic firing. A bit difficult to switch, but yeah. Oops. And it has those 2 different D-pads, as I said. One is this kind of D-pad, one is that kind of D-pad. And it has a carry case for has a carry case. So that's always good. And you can make profiles, as I said, of different combinations, although that's not the greatest feature in the world in terms of this. Features of the Steam controller, it's got less features. It's got this dual click system when you can move that, and you can also click all the way at the bottom and you can set those to 2 different things. It's wireless, whereas this at the moment is currently wired, at least for the PC. There is going to be a transmitter cable coming, a USB dongle or whatever is coming out apparently in December, although I'd keep an eye on that. But right now this is wireless, so that's a good feature. It's got the back buttons as well for some additional inputs, and they can actually be customized to whatever you want, unlike the rear paddles on that. So that's good. And the best feature of all is the haptic feedback. Basically, when you rub this, depending on the game, you get what's called haptic feedback. The haptic feedback, this is where the Steam controller really comes to its shine. Basically, that is a pad, but if you listen carefully, it's vibrating and it's clicking. Do you hear that kind of slows down? This is the tracking ball variant of what you can set this to. Basically, you can set this to basically click as you move across it. You can feel those clicks. It really feels like you're spinning a ball. It really it gives your brain extra information about what's going on here, and it's very, very handy. You can set this to have haptic feedback. It's a bit stronger. You can even set this to have haptic feedback, and I'm pretty sure you can set that to have, yep. The whole thing clicks when I click that at the moment. So haptic feedback, excellent information. This controller can be used for many, many different things in ways that this can't. So really, this gets 8 out of 10, and this will get 8 out of 10 because it has some very decent features going on. And that's that. Right, in terms of accuracy, this is only a slight improvement from the Xbox 360 controller. These are slightly easier to use and they're slightly more customizable, as I've been through already, but only slightly. But they are smoother, they have different variation, so you can craft your experience to even more finely, but still I think it's got the limitations of all controllers when it comes to aiming in games, in terms of that only being able to turn at a certain rate and acceleration, and you know, just it's not natural. A lot of people have mastered using controllers for aiming, but they're never going to beat keyboard and mouse players ever. It's just like a thing. You get obviously the world record holders that can do weird stuff, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about you and me. Okay, well, just me then, whatever. Okay. This, on the other hand, is much more accurate because this is a mouse pad. It's going to take a while to get used to for most people, but hopefully they won't give up because this is, as I say, it acts like a mouse. You can, how fast you turn is literally how fast you move your thumb. There's no acceleration to worry about unless you want to turn it on specifically. You could be much more finely accurate, you can fine tune this much more. This is basically going to bring first-person shooters to the living room for PC players who normally use a keyboard and mouse. They'll be able to reach levels almost as close as using a keyboard and mouse, I'm sure. And so when it comes to accuracy, this takes the cake. I give it 8 out of 10. It's not a mouse, but you can be much more accurate than normal. I give this 6 out of 10. People are normally good at it. They're going to get slightly better when they buy this, but not much. So in terms of accuracy, Steam controller wins. Overall, which one is better? Oh, that's a very hard question. I think the Steam controller overall is better. It's cheaper. It has more features. It's much more designed for gamers. This, on the other hand, is much more expensive. You're paying basically for quality, but not really for features. You're basically paying for an upgrade to your 360 controller with a few extra features, but you're not really transforming your game like the Steam controller does. So if I'm going to make a recommendation, I'd say go and get the Steam controller, and if possible get both, because they do have their own pros and own cons. And you can, you know, everyone needs more than one controller, so get both if you can afford it. But start with the Steam controller, and that is my comparison. Steam controller takes the victory.